Hello and welcome to the Watering Hole. Thanks for checking out this clip. Don't forget to like and subscribe because that'll make the baby Jesus cry, and I know how much you guys love making the baby Jesus cry. Anyway, on to some more depressing stuff. This one was sent to me by Fennec. It says, Tennessee lawmakers want to ban pride flags, but not Nazi ones. This doesn't make sense. This comes from the Tennessean.
Oh, is this the one about them removing pride flags from schools?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Tennessee bans pride flags. Now, I want to say, I did read the bill. Maybe I'm missing something, but I don't think the ban pride flags, but not Nazi ones is accurate. Because it bans all flags from classrooms except for the Tennessee flag and the United States flag.
Yeah, it does technically ban Nazi flags.
Now, this is explicitly lawmakers who are wanting to ban LGBTQ pride flags specifically, and they're
willing to accept collateral damage.
Yeah, they don't really care about the Nazi flags, and Nazis for some reason feel comfortable going to Tennessee to demonstrate. But it is worth mentioning that the bill itself does not actually ban pride flags, but not Nazi ones. It just bans everything except for the US and Tennessee flag. So anyway, they say, over the past couple of weeks, we've watched the bill HB 1605/SB 1722 get rammed through committee without lawmakers being upfront about its intentions. The Tennessee House of Representatives passed it on February 26th. We've watched legislators acknowledge its unconstitutionality, admit to not knowing its full implications, and attempt to dance around the reality of the bill. It's a bill created in search of a problem, and its real intentions are obvious to those willing to say it out loud. We're not sure what problem the bill sets out to address, like what problem is actually caused by there being flags other than the US flag or the Tennessee flag in classrooms. Like, I mean, I could see if you have a Nazi teacher hanging a Nazi flag, that could be an issue.
Yeah, there's a bit of a problem there.
But so they're trying to say it's against the indoctrination of school children, which they go for the definition.
Indoctrination into what?
Well, that's the thing. Like, just seeing a flag is not going to indoctrinate you into something.
No, it's not. And even so, like, indoctrination is just asking somebody to accept something uncritically.
Yeah.
Like, that's technically,
yeah, so that's the definition they gave
at young ages.
That's the definition they gave here, the process of teaching a person or group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically. Yeah, so there is a good chunk of teaching kids that does involve that. Like, you don't... Well, I mean... I was going to say, like, you don't let them question, like, 2 + 2 = 4. It just is. But, like, no, I actually do let my kids question that. Like, if they want to know how something works, I'm going to do my best to explain how it works instead of just being like, oh, that's just how it is. So maybe I'm just weird that way. But, like, if my kids ask me why does 2 + 2 = 4, I would get out, like, marbles or something and be like, okay, well, here's 2, and here's 2, and you know how to count. So what happens when you put these 2 together and count them all together? And then they would count.
You can show the process.
It's 4. And yeah, my partner actually makes fun of me because I go into way too much scientific depth for the 4-year-old. Who right now the 4-year-old is I got them to eat their fruit this morning because they were pretending to be a flying fox, the type of bat, the flying fox. And, well, flying foxes eat fruit, and they really like bananas. And I have a banana here. Why don't you try one? And
so you just worked within the paradigm they gave you.
Yeah, and they ate 2 bananas this morning. And they're really picky eaters that it's really hard to get them to eat healthy foods. So, like, yeah, bananas for breakfast. All right.
Also, Falcon fan once again in my chat saying the only people flying Nazi flags are feds. So this is my once a stream reminder.
I remember that person.
This is my once a stream reminder. Falcon fan, if you have some evidence.
Wasn't this the exact argument they had last time?
Yep.
Come on, we trounced you last time. Come up with something new, man. Come on.
This is my once a stream reminder. Please bring evidence when you say something. Otherwise, it will be dismissed. That's like, I can say anything. I could say anything on the internet, and there are people who will believe me for some stupid reason.
I would like my channel to stay monetized, so please don't say anything.
I look, think about half the things you and I have both said, and somehow your channel is still monetized. I do not understand it.
That's a fair point.
We feed Falcons some attention as a treat. Falcon's the stream pet.
I like it.
Jesus. So what does it mean to be a Fed? I mean, that would literally just be you're somebody working for the government for the purpose of engaging in a psyop. That's what the working definition is for this type of thing. And it's not that the federal government hasn't done this type of stuff before. Yeah.
Like they do. This is the thing that doesn't make sense to me about that. Is like, I will grant you that the federal government fucking sucks a lot of the time, and they do stupid shit like that a lot of the time. But like, neo-Nazis are a thing that I run into on a semi-regular basis. So to think that some of them would get together in real life,
it doesn't take a lot of assumptions.
Unless like everybody on Twitter is also a Fed, which I mean, granted it's Twitter, so maybe.
Maybe. I mean, so like the conspiracy nutter at the bar, now that I know his name, it feels weird not just calling him by his name, because the bartender was like, he's been asking about you. Like, don't tell me that. But like, so that is a person who I could easily see being very adjacent to what would be considered modern day Nazi ideology, only because the beginning of the conversation with that person was them going, the real problem in today's America is satanic pedophiles. Wouldn't you agree, sir? And I'm like,
no.
That is the most loaded statement possible. The only possible way I can answer that with any amount of dignity is, what the fuck is a satanic pedophile? What do you mean by that? And it couldn't really answer that question either, so obviously I went with the right form of inquiry. But it's the fact that here in Georgia, where the second, not the second, sorry, the third incarnation of the KKK happened 1 hour from my doorstep. Stone Mountain's a wonderful place, and by wonderful I mean caked in weird history.
But sir, it's very easy. Georgia's where the Guidestones are, though, so clearly New World Order or whatever.
The Georgia Girdsterns. Girdsterns, only 500,000 people should be alive ever. Oh my God, lol.
Some rich guy made a stone that said a thing, so clearly it's an Illuminati conspiracy.
Clearly.
But also, like, even the thing, like, only 500,000 people should be alive. That's not saying we kill people until we get down to 500,000. That's saying we, like, advocate for women's rights so they can choose not to have kids if they don't want to, and maybe provide incentive to get people to have fewer children.
I mean, it's
although realistically, like we've seen, like with population growth rates in developed countries, it seems that when women do have control over how many kids they have, it's not a lot. It's enough that like maybe the population will shrink. Probably not down to 500,000 anytime soon, but yeah, you give women rights, and problems like that go away. Donald says, perhaps Fed means Federalist Society. Yeah, I can see that.
Sorry, 500 million, not 500,000.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I have trouble with orders of magnitude as well.
Yeah, but like, I don't know, just... And I understand the because again, like, as somebody who used to be an Alex Jones fan, I understand the logic behind it, right? People connect all these dots, and if you were already a fundy Christian, connecting those dots is already baked into your brain, because when you connect conspiratorial thoughts using only the Bible, it's called harmonizing. I mean,
yeah.
I've watched enough of Gene Kim to know that it's just called harmonizing when you make up bullshit that way.
Anyway, what the fuck were we even talking about before we went on a Blue? We gotta stop talking about Bluey on this show because it always distracts me.
We were talking about the pride flags being banned in Tennessee schools.
Okay, so the whole thing, like Nazi flag versus pride flag, and like they're not explicitly saying only the pride flags are banned, not the Nazi ones. They're just banning all the flags that aren't government flags. And I could see the objection to that from your commenter in here being something along the lines of, okay, well, they're banning all the flags, so why are we complaining about banning the LGBTQ flags? Wouldn't it be best if teachers just stick to the official government flags or whatever? But the thing is, when you fly a pride flag, what you're saying to your students is, if you are one of these identities, my classroom is a safe place for you. I got your back. You are a valid person.
But what if I identify as a Nazi, huh?
If you identify
then,
as
liberal?
a Nazi, then the classroom should not be a safe place. So, like, yeah, if a teacher flies a Nazi flag, maybe, like, if we don't pass this bill, maybe that's technically legal, but that's still signaling to the students that this is the kind of person that I am, this is the kind of classroom that I run, and if you have a Nazi flag, that's saying that, like, that's saying certain things about you that will have other constitutional implications that go beyond just the right to fly a flag.
Don't worry. They all have to be feds. I have evidence. My evidence is I said it really loudly.
Yeah.
Probably.
Also, Fennec is pointing out in my chat that, like, being a Nazi is a choice, whereas being LGBTQ is not.
I will say the only thing I don't like about that particular line of reasoning, though, is that I've heard the counter to that being, okay, but what if it was a choice? And
yeah, and well, I mean, there's also, so scientifically speaking, the evidence is fairly conclusive that being LGBTQ does have a very strong biological basis. However, it's not 100% one way or the other, because biology is fucking messy.
No, biology is simple. Man or woman, probably.
So gender and sexuality can both be fluid, and they can both change over the course of a person's life. However, overtly trying to change them, like conversion therapy, it always it always has it always has negative health outcomes. It's been called torture by organizations whose sole purpose is to point out when torture happens. So, like, yeah, no, conversion therapy, no, just let people be who they are. And, like, even if it does change over the course of someone's lifetime, I wouldn't necessarily call that a choice.
That's one reason why I tend to have issue with the I've made the statement, when somebody is born a dude and then realizes actually they're a woman, and then they go down the route of trying to seek therapy or getting not conversion therapy, but gender affirming therapy, whether that be HRT or anything else. And I've had people take issue with the born a guy part or born a girl part. But I've met enough people who are either gender fluid or have actually had that opinion of themselves change at some point in time to go, no, they weren't always that, because we don't have any evidence to suggest that. We have their own identity and how they feel about themselves at each varying point. And what matters is not how somebody was born, but how they identify now. That's completely consistent.
So Adam Broughton sent $5, said, Ryan, did you hear anything about the Alberta town that recently, for all intents and purposes, banned rainbow crosswalks? No, I didn't hear about that. That's the kind of thing that you could send to news@vicetoronto.com. And if you do that, insert joke about Cyrus letting you do something to him here. That I'm too lazy to actually come up with the joke.
You're too lazy to come up with a joke?
Yeah.
That is unfortunate.
I mean, feel free to insert your own joke here if you like. I've left a wide open gap for you to insert your massive throbbing joke.
Please do no inserting on my account. I would prefer that. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, no, so I forget what we were even talking about.
I don't either.
Anyway, yeah, that was basically the main point that I wanted to get to here, is that like, banning any flags is, like especially in public schools, I could see an argument to be made that like, okay, we don't, like, you can't hang a Confederate flag in a public school because the Confederacy was literally an organization of traitors who tried to overthrow the government. So I could see why a government run school might not want to have that flag flying there. Um, I could see them not wanting a Nazi flag flying there. Because like that's
because it signals to everybody that
yeah,
signals to everyone that you are going to try to do something horrible to people of a particular group or religion.
yeah. And so from that perspective, I can kind of see where the argument comes from in that like, well, if you fly a pride flag, that's going to like offend the sensibilities of the people who are anti-LGBTQ or whatever. But like,
well, we shouldn't care about offending the sensibilities of people who are anti people just being born and being happy.
yeah, but the thing,
If anything, education should offend those people.
yeah, yeah. So like, but what I was kind of getting at is that like the Nazis are a group of people who are actively trying to like exterminate people based on their protective characteristics. So to fly a Nazi flag is to say you're okay with that. Whereas to fly a pride flag, it's just sending the signal that like I'm not going to hate you for being who you are. So like I can almost see the argument, but like, and this is where like it's not really a First Amendment issue because like being public employees, when they're on the job, they don't necessarily have the same First Amendment rights as they do when they're not on the job. So like I could see the argument working from that perspective, but given that the First Amendment is always how Republicans defend teachers doing things like praying in class, or
it's my First Amendment right. I don't care if it
like,
offends a non-Christian. This is a Christian nation.
So like, yeah, like, and this is the thing. Like, if we're going to apply the First Amendment equally, then yeah, no, it doesn't matter what the flag is. They should be allowed to fly, even if it is a Nazi flag, unfortunately. But if like it just shows their hypocrisy because they'll say like, oh, it's a First Amendment right to pray. They're trying to stop me from being able to pray. That's my First Amendment right. Meanwhile, what they were doing is forcing kids to pray, which is not their First Amendment right.